All right. So the question is, are altcoins a good investment? Now, I wanna say straight up that I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not one of these people who says Bitcoin is the only true crypto and the rest are, no good. I'm definitely not like that. I actually believe strongly in, especially Ethereum. It's got a pretty decent leadership, a lot of good developers, a lot of development, and even though it's only really mature, well, not mature, but only established use cases, decentralized finance, I think that alone is a great reason to support altcoins. However, what about investment in terms of getting a return, which is the same reason most people are in the stock market and any other market? Are altcoins a good investment? Me personally, I think no. And this is based on my views and also my experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that there was DeFi summer last cycle and altcoin rallying and altcoin season and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, last time and even this time more recently, when everyone thought there was an altcoin rally, I have kind of dabbled and I was not successful, right? It's so easy to get burned on these lower market cap coins, and I'm not talking about the ones that are like so low they're not even on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. I'm talking about even ones that are just outside the top 100. I mean, there are times when it looks like it's so easy to make money from them, but they're very limited, and usually by the time you've realized that, when you have a go, then suddenly the opportunity is gone and you lose. So for me, they're more akin to gambling. Like the risks just don't justify the possible rewards. They're just way too risky. And the good thing for me is I've never really invested too much in them. There's a time and a place in anyone's portfolio for high risk investments, and usually you should limit it to, like, say, I don't know, 5 or 10% max. But even then, I just don't think it's worth it. I don't see the point. You can, it's already a big enough risk just investing in Bitcoin. So, and you can make massive gains just holding on Bitcoin. So to me, it's just not worth it. You're more likely to lose on small alts. It's just not worth it. And the only time for me that I've seen people really pull off alts is when they got in super early on an alt that ends up becoming like a top 10 coin. But the thing is, out of all these stories of great luck you've heard people say, how many other stories are there when people invested in a project at a very low market cap, and they used all the same logic and they said this has great potential, and it ended up being nothing and they lost their money, right? It's just, you hear these great stories, but they're too far and few between, and most people lose out. It's just not worth it. Now, what about bigger alts, right? What do I think of bigger ones like ETH, like now Solana, and maybe some others? So I think that most alts that are even like between 10 and 50 are still too high risk. And I actually think in some ways, instead of investing in alts between 10 and 50, you might as well go to the 100 to 300 rank market cap range. Because I actually think that they're at least got more rewards for the risk that you're taking in a way. I think there's just too much risk still in 10 to 50 range. Now, what about higher range, like top 10 alts? Well, there's still a lot of risk there. Now, I've invested in the lowest risk coin. I happen to use it as well anyway. If you use something, then you need some of the coin, even if you're not taking a view on investment. But I have invested not a lot, still a minority of portfolio in Ethereum before. And you only have to look at what's happened to Ethereum recently. I mean, Ethereum was supposed to be a blue chip alt. It was supposed to be the sort of lowest risk alt, but still with very high potential for gains out of all altcoins, right? It was meant to be the best altcoin to bet on. Okay, potentially other ones could get you a bigger return, but it was meant to be kind of like a sweet spot, pretty much stable and also good returns. And look at it now. I mean, it's pretty much back where it was, not only in end of 2023, which is just over a year ago, but man, it's not really that much different from where it got to way back in 2021, end of 2021, beginning of 2022, which is insane. I mean, that's 3 years ago, right? So if you draw a straight line like that, then the growth of Ethereum is pretty low. It's pretty low. I mean, I look at it like it's never going to go below 1,000. Okay, so that's one thing, but it's not really a great growth opportunity. You're better off putting it in Bitcoin, I think. So I think this is one of the serious problems about altcoins, that even the best altcoin is kind of just almost flatlining it now. And here's my new theory on altcoins. I think that if you get in super early on an altcoin that ends up being big, which is almost impossible, right? You're more likely to lose trying. But if you do, then that ends up being a great investment for a few people. Down a luck. And, you know, apart from that, it's not a great investment. I think that altcoins, what happens is they get adoption very quick. And it doesn't matter how much more development there is in the chain. They're not stocks, right? They're not like Apple or IBM or Microsoft or Amazon that go from strength to strength and become bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, Ethereum gets more and more development activity, more and more developers, more and more users, more and more total value locked up in staking and liquidity pools and all this kind of stuff. It has more activity and good activity. If it were a stock, it would be going up, but it's not a stock, right? It's just a utility coin. It can be the coin. You need it to pay fees. You need it. I think for Ethereum, I think it gives governance rights. At least that's what most of these coins do. If nothing else, they have governance rights and not much else. It's not a part ownership of any company. There's no claim on any assets or anything like that. So it won't behave like a company. But what it will do is, when it starts to prove its use case in the early days, like Ethereum did 4 years ago, then it will pump. And thereafter, it may break an all-time high once or twice more over the course of years, but probably it won't. It'll just occasionally pump again. And it did that. It did that in early 2024, and it did that again in mid-2024, and it did that again at the end of last year. And each time it pumped to 4,000, which is not even as high as its all-time high back during COVID era, which was 4,500. So, you know, it's pumped to 4,500, and then a few years later, 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. The problem with big alts is that they're just oscillators. They don't have that long-term growth like Bitcoin, I believe. I mean, I do believe they may have some long-term growth, but it's so shallow that you might as well invest in stocks. There's no, you know, and in safe stocks as well. You don't even need to invest in really cutting-edge, high-tech, risky stocks. You can just invest in some industrials or healthcare or something like that. That's basically what ETH has become. It's become like a healthcare stock. It's just a bad investment opportunity. Why be in crypto at all and accept all the risk if you're not going to get the reward? For me, if you're asking the question, are altcoins a good investment? I would say absolutely not. That the only good crypto investment is Bitcoin. And altcoins aren't a good investment. They're great if you want to use them. Ethereum is great if you want to participate and swap your coins for something else. You want to participate and use one of the tokens. Or if you want to lock your money up and stake it in a liquidity pool or something, you know, something like that. They're good for that. They're good for interacting with DeFi or some other token. But in themselves, they're not a great investment, I believe. I believe that they pump quickly when they become established, you know, and by then, if you've learned of that, it's too late. And you know, it may be that you want to play you want to play that game of just holding it when it's at the bottom, waiting for the pump, and then quickly getting out. You could do that with Ethereum, but I actually believe there are better coins for that. For example, XRP and some other coins, they have a less symmetrical pump, where they pump really violently, really quickly, and then they slow bleed. And while they're bleeding, they may even have a kind of relief pump, again a violent pump, but they will eventually just bleed out. Now, Ethereum doesn't have as violent pumps, and it also takes longer to bleed out. So if you're asking me, none of these are a good investment, but if you're looking to trade and looking to not to buy and hold, but to take advantage of a quick pump and then sell out while it's still at the top, at a peak, then altcoins are good for that because they're oscillators like this. But in my view, it would be better to find something that pumps more violently, more quickly, but also get out, and it will, because of that, it will also dump quickly. So you need to be careful to get out. Now, if you're interested in that kind of pump and dump action, but you think you might be a bit slow to react, then maybe something like Ethereum is better for you. But ultimately, I think that's all altcoins are good for. They're not investment opportunities. If you want the price action, then they're just pump and dump oscillators. Some of them are quicker and some of them are slower than others. And ETH is a slow one, XRP is a much quicker one. I don't know if that's a dangerous game or not. I must admit, when I saw XRP pump not long ago, I was thinking that it could be a good play next time to hold some amount in my portfolio, and not just a tiny amount but a significant amount, and play this pump or dump play, because you can make quite a lot. Even Ethereum from its last low, right? If I look back end of 2023, sorry, about October, then if you bought around then or just before, then it took about about another 4 or 5 months to really reach that peak of 4,000, and it doubled in value. So it took about half a year to double in value, right? That was a long pump. Now, if you compare that to something like XRP, so I'm now looking at the XRP chart. Well, it went in the end of 2024, October. It initially pumped in about a month to 4 times its value, and it wasn't over. It had another pump, which would take it up to about 6 times its value overall. It had another pump within space of a few weeks, and that's you know, at the top of one of these pumps, even the first one would have been a great time to sell. You would have made 4 times your money. I mean, that's just, in fact, even more than 4 times your money. I mean, that is just insane. And you would have had literally years to buy in at that low level. So XRP is now slowly bleeding again. I don't believe it. I don't believe it's gonna pump. I think it might take a while. It might take a year, but I believe after a year it's gonna have bled out most of that value. That would be the time to start accumulating it. Wait for the next pump. You might be waiting 4 years for that pump though. Set an alert on that pump, because the next time that pump happens, you probably want to sell at least half of what you got. You will have made a serious chunk of cash. You know, that's just insane. That's the only way to profit from alts in my view. But it's it's high risk behavior. Let me know what you think anyway, and none of this is financial advice. We'll speak again soon. Take care. Bye bye.